Hi everyone, welcome to School of Scarlet. I have another message for you today. So today's message is all coming around teaching, inspiration. So if you're a teacher, if you are a creator, if you are sharing something here on this earth, this message is for you. So I want to start off by sharing a little bit of a story around teaching, and I want to share a little bit of my experience as a student, a little bit of my experience as a teacher, and see what comes through. So what was coming through as I was driving earlier today was to share a story with you of a student named Teddy. Teddy is a student who he started off school at kindergarten, and at that time his mom was very terminally ill with cancer. And so he was struggling in school. His behaviors and things started to change, and so he wasn't doing so good in school. And then the next year his mother passed away, and he wasn't doing so good in school either. So his teachers would leave notes that he wasn't paying attention, he was being rowdy, or he wasn't able to learn the material. And so the next year came, and the same old thing. He was having trouble in school, learning and keeping focus and doing the things that he needed to do. So his teacher wrote another report at the end of the year stating something to the fact that, his mother had passed away, and she realized that this was what happened, but that his behavior was just so out of control that he wasn't able to learn. And so it was just this recurring kind of thing that he had lost his mother and that this was what's happening with his behavior. So come to the current day, he is now in his classroom, let's say fifth grade class, and his teacher starts to experience his behaviors and how he's having trouble learning and all of these things. And she's just deeply frustrated with him and the whole situation. So she really just begins to kind of treat him badly, not pay attention to him, put him, to do other tasks and just kind of ignoring him. And his behavior begins to kind of ramp up and get worse. And she doesn't know what to do. So there are binders and records where you can look back on your students history. So she goes into the office and finds his binder, and she goes back into the years all the way to where he was in kindergarten and his mom was sick, and she reads the notes from the different teachers, how one year his mom was sick and he was struggling, and then the next year the mother died, and then the next year his father was taking care of him, and he was coming to school without clean clothes, and he wasn't well taken care of, and he didn't have a lot of support. So she read all of these notes from previous teachers, and she felt ashamed of herself. She began to cry, and she realized that, this child was someone that was hurting, someone that was, having trouble because of everything that had happened. And so at that moment, she stopped trying to teach him, stopped trying to teach him math, stopped trying to teach him reading, stopped trying to teach him all that stuff. Now she finally was teaching him as a human being, as a child. She learned how to teach children because she learned that she needed to connect with him, that there was something more that this child needed. Now, how did this happen? Well, one day he came to school. It was a Christmas kind of gift exchange thing, and all the students brought the teacher gifts. And she was opening all the gifts and things, and then it was Teddy's gift. Teddy's gift came wrapped in some old kind of newspaper and brown paper bags that came from the grocery store. It wasn't very pretty, and all the children began to laugh, and he began to get a little bit ashamed. And the teacher opened the gift, and in the gift was a bracelet that had missing rhinestones all in it, and the children began to laugh. And the teacher took the bracelet with much care and took it with her and thanked Teddy. She also found in there a bottle with a little bit of perfume, maybe a third of the perfume still left in there. And she thanked Teddy, and she sprayed some of it on herself, and the children began to laugh at Teddy, and they didn't really think that his gift was that great, but she sprayed herself with it, and she continued to spray herself with it. And the Teddy, one day, he said to her, "You smell so beautiful. You smell just like my mother." And at that moment, she kind of felt connected to him. She was able to reach him. She was able to teach him. And he left that year. He did a little better in his schooling that year. He excelled a lot more than he had in previous years. And the next year, he did better and better and better. And then one year, she got a note underneath her door. It was a note from Teddy. He was now in high school, and he was third in his class. So in sliding that note under the door, Teddy really wanted to share with his teacher how much of an impact she had made for him, how she had inspired him, how she had opened him up and helped him to connect once again with life. And so he invited her to his high school graduation, and of course she went. And the relationship continued. She continued to get notes from him and letters as he went along his way. He sent her a letter, and it now had more letters to his name. He had become a medical doctor, so his name was now Theodore whatever it was, MD. And so this story continues on, and this is just a story to show you that in that moment, although we think that we're teaching math, we think that we're teaching history, we think that we're teaching reading, teaching teaching children is totally different. Teaching anyone is totally different. It's not about the intellectual material. It's not about the material. It's about the connection, inspiring, sparking a spark within someone to want to learn, to want to go out there, to want to explore this world, to see the magic once again. Because many people, their light is dimmed because of different things that have happened. We don't know why these things happen, but they do, and we just go with them. Why did Teddy's mother have to have a terminal illness? Why did she have to die? Why did he have to, have these behavioral issues because of it? Why? We don't know why, but these things happen. We don't know why someone's path is the way it is. Oftentimes people want to judge others that, let's say it's an alcoholic, let's say it's a drug addict, let's say it's a sex addict, let's say it's someone out there being a scammer, whatever they happen to be. We don't know why they're doing that. We don't know why their path is there. But believe me, there's a reason that the path is like that. And there is no way that you can get off of this path. There is no bypassing. So many people talk about spiritual bypassing or not getting help and just going past things. That's not how things work in this universe. You can't get past anything. Everything is with you because it's all happening within you. There's nothing you can hide from. There's nothing that you can deceive, manipulate, and all you're doing in that case is doing it to yourself. There's nothing you can do. It all comes back to you. So why are these things happening for people? Because it's for them. It's their journey, not yours. So let these things happen. What can you be? You can be that light. You can be that inspiration where even a child is acting out, or even a child is, being a total terror or something. How can we connect with that child? How can we inspire that child once again into love? So that's what this teacher did in that moment. And she could have very well just continued on to be very tough with Teddy and not really given him the love and attention that he needed, the tenderness. But she knew, she read those stories, and she knew, she connected with her heart what was needed. And so she was able to offer that to him. So this message is for someone out there. You're getting ready to teach, or you're teaching others. And so this message is really that your role here is actually to inspire and help others remember their greatness, because everyone, each and every one of everyone out here living in this earth is great and has a greatness within them, has a song to sing within them. And it would be a shame if they do not sing their song on this lifetime. So inspire them to sing their song, just like Teddy's teacher inspired him to do the things that he wanted to do. And look at him now. He has come around in a circle, and now he's a medical doctor helping others. Who would have ever thought that? His teachers that had written those notes before, his last teacher that had helped him out, did they know that he had the potential to become a doctor? They probably would have never thought that. They probably would have thought this young man is very troubled and he's not going to be able to do that. He's going to have issues. But you see, we all have the potential to have issues, to not really go very far, and we have all the potential for greatness, for anything. Everything is within the seed that you are. So you are really a blank slate, like they say, a total blank slate. There is a total unknown of what can happen. It's just what you're going to connect with. What are you going to be inspired by? And if you're going to be inspired by anything, if you're going to inspire others, do it through love, do it through truth. So I want to share my story of a student, being a student. Many of you have had the experience of going to school. I went to a regular public school. And so if any of y'all have had a teacher who has inspired you, who has shaped you in some way, comment down below, put a thumbs up, a heart, or leave the story of your teacher or the name of your teacher. Let's let it be known, those people who have really been angels here on this earth. So for me, it was Mrs. Wilson. Mrs. Wilson was an older woman who taught math. She taught my algebra class in high school. I had actually known her before because she had also taught in 5th grade, I think, math, and then she had moved up. But she was a teacher that could lose her temper. She was a teacher that was very emotional. I had never experienced a teacher like this. Even to this day, I have never experienced one like this. When we were talking or we get frustrated, she would get frustrated. And one day she got so frustrated, we had those glass overhead projectors that would literally just project a worksheet that they would put on the top. And she got so mad, she hit the projector, broke it, the glass, and this was some thick glass, cut her arm. And there was blood. There was blood. And this wasn't the first time that she had lost her temper, but this isn't the first time that she had shown emotions either. She had showed us her emotions while she had talked about a book that she wrote. She used to teach inner city kids in Houston, and she had seen lots of abuse. She had seen lots of children that were being sexually abused, physically abused. She had seen lots of scenarios of gang life, lots of things like this. And so she shared that with us. Most of us that were in this class were upper to middle class, white, and some mixed different ethnicities and stuff. School, we didn't have the inner city situation like Miss Wilson had when she taught at that time. So these stories were shocking to us. But these stories are not just stories of inner city kids. As this continued on, that Miss Wilson would share a story from her book, students in this class would be coming into her class at lunch. And I was one of these students because one day my best friend wanted to go talk to Miss Wilson, and I went with her. And Miss Wilson kept her door open at lunchtime. Now, at lunchtime, everybody, this was high school, we got to go wherever, go eat lunch here. At those days, you could drive off campus. But Miss Wilson always had a room full of at least a handful of kids that wanted to talk to her. And even though this was her lunch period, she counseled kids. She inspired kids here. And when I went there with my friend wanted to reveal a story of abuse. And so this was a time that a lot of students had kind of this safety, this place where they could go to talk to someone that understood, that knew what it was like. And so I want to just inspire you today that you may be that teacher. You may be that person for someone. Keep your door open. Inspire others with the love in your heart. Keep your door open. Love is an open door that's coming through right now. Y'all know that song from Frozen, Love is an Open Door. Listen to it. Love is an open door. Keep your door open to these people because there are many people that have so much greatness within them. Each and every one of them do. But a lot of times they're trapped because they're trapped by these things like shame. If we are tuned into shame, if we believe that there is something we need to be shameful about, we are actually in a state of weakness. We can't really be at our full potential and be carrying shame. What Miss Wilson did was she transmuted shame for people. She let them know that those things that had happened to them were not meant to have happened to them. It wasn't because they did something wrong. It's not because, God is punishing them. It's not because of anything that they did. These are just things that happen. And Miss Wilson was able to give love and protection to these students. So that is my experience with one of the most inspirational teachers that I have ever known. So comment down below if you have had a teacher like this. Now, in my case, I went into teaching kind of randomly. I didn't really expect to go into teaching. My first experience of teaching was at a Head Start center. I went to work there because I was working with special needs students. That was kind of my specialty at the time. I was working with students that had autism and Down syndrome and just different kind of things that they were born with, genetic things. And one year, they didn't have a teacher for one of the classrooms. And they were trying to hire someone, and they had the teacher's assistant kind of teaching the class. And one day they asked me if I wanted to teach it. And I said yes. And I walked into that classroom that same day with absolutely no teaching experience. And it was kind of terrifying, but I absolutely loved it. But I didn't really know what I was doing, okay? I was teaching preschool, so that was pretty easy. I knew how to count, my colors, all those things. But I didn't really know what I was doing. I encountered students like, Teddy was in that story. I had a student. He was a student that would come into the class always very upset. He would pick up chairs, throw them at us. He would pinch me, hit me, kick me, until it turned around, until I started giving him more attention. What he wanted was attention. And when he got to sit up in the front, when he got to have jobs, when he got to have the love that he needed, we were able to connect, and he was able to learn, and he did very well. He was the smartest student in the whole class. I met his mother one day and his father, His father was a lot older than his mother. And then his mother, in those days, we could go to their houses. So we did home visits. I went out to their home and she showed me their home. And I asked, what does he do? Where's his room? All these different things. And so she showed me everything. Well, but actually what happens every day is that mom opens the door, I go play outside and she locks it. And I don't get to come back inside until the nighttime. So that is the way that this little boy lived. And that is what kind of pain and things that he was having to struggle with. Yes, he got to play outside and do all these things, but he was missing the love of his mother. And so we began to work with the mother, and it wasn't just me. Over the years, other teachers did. In the Head Start Center, he stayed maybe 2 or 3 years. And this young man began to change so much, and so did his family. So much so that she began to volunteer and do many things with us. So it was a great thing. I really encourage people to join Head Start. It really works with the parents, not just the students. So it's a very empowering program. Prior to that, I worked in a program called Parents as Teachers. In this program, most of the parents were lower income, or they had children that had disabilities. That's how they could qualify for the program. And the program, we'd come out to their homes and show them how to do different things with their children to help them learn. Because the first 5 years of a child's life, a lot is going on in their brain with the connections and everything. So you want to solidify a lot of those things. So we'd bring books and all kinds of things. And well, these mothers and things, a lot of them felt very, they didn't feel good about themselves. A lot of them couldn't even read for themselves. And, they didn't know how to teach. They didn't know how to do these things. But the first part of this program is to really empower each and every parent that they are their child's first and best teachers. They know their child better than anybody, better than any teacher out there. Because prior to teaching any kind of material, you need inspiration, you need a connection, you need your heart for true learning. Otherwise, you're just memorizing a bunch of junk. True learning inspires you to learn and do more in this world. The learning doesn't stop in a book. It inspires you to go out in nature and explore, and it inspires you to create new inventions, and it inspires you to teach others what you have been taught. That is what true learning is. So I came across another little child who I think I've mentioned in these videos before. She was a little girl who was born as a crack baby. And she would shake a lot. She couldn't hardly sleep or take naps when everybody else would take naps. She couldn't hold her pencil. She couldn't zip her backpack, many different things. So I was a new teacher. I would help her with everything, thinking that really she couldn't do it. And she would cry and, she would say, I can't do it. I can't do it. So I would help her to do it. And then one day, my teacher's assistant saw me doing this, excuse me, and she said, no, she can do that. So she showed her how to do it. And from then on, I would encourage her to continue doing it, and she could do it. Another time we had a student who had Down syndrome, and he would oftentimes go and take toys from children, and the other children would get upset, because they had their toy taken. And oftentimes I would tell the other children that, he didn't know what he was doing. Well, the teacher's assistant that was in this room with me one day took us aside and said, no, this child knows exactly what he's doing. He needs to learn to ask for the toy. So my teacher's assistant at the time showed me, modeled for me how to show him how to use his words. And once he used his words and he asked the other child, can I play with this toy now? And the other child handed it to him, he could do it. And I was just blown away because he had hardly any verbal skills. But yes, he was able to do this. And he continued to do this, and he was empowered now to use his words. So that's learning. That's expansion. That's an increase for him. He is now using his words and learning that connection, at the same time creating harmony with others, because others can now know what he wants and they don't take it as if, oh, he just took my toy. So these are just little things that happen along my journey that I'm sharing with you. I want to encourage you to inspire others along your journey. I know that all of you watching here have a song to sing. You have something to share. You have something that is going to inspire others, is going to teach others. So this message is for you today, to be that teacher, to connect with others, to realize that it's not about the material, it's about the heart. So I hope that you keep your heart open in your teaching, and that you inspire others just like Miss Wilson inspired me. I love you all.